news media. And I lost my partner, Amber Rose Isaac, back in April of 2020 due to complete medical negligence, something that was 1000% preventable. And I have been left to suffer. My family has been left to suffer. My son has been left to suffer. And of course, to no fault of our own. We were people who, of course, followed the rules. We followed everything that we were supposed to be doing. We were people who were on top of everything. And the system, of course, still failed us. And Amber's life was unfortunately cut short. She gave birth 40 days premature. She was someone who was advocating for herself time and time and time again. There was always a delay of information. She wasn't receiving information. At the end, she ended up finding out that she had HELLP syndrome, HELLP syndrome, which is a heightened elevation of the blood and liver enzymes. Her platelets were in the 40s by the time we made it to the hospital, so her blood was water-like, her blood was not clotting, and ultimately she passed away due to an unscheduled emergency C-section at the very last minute. And she lost her life. She lost her life short. She was due May 2020, which is the same month that she was supposed to receive her master's degree for business development. We're talking about a woman that wanted to open up her own school. You know, she had so many goals and so many aspirations that she had for the community and parents and children. She really had a soft spot for children. At the time, she was an early life educator, and so we're currently in a legal battle right now with the hospital that wronged Amber, and the only thing that we can currently sue for is what her last job was. And what this bill does is it changes a 175-year clause wrongful death that hasn't been changed in quite some time. And it allows us to sue for grief and anguish. So, of course, whenever you lose a partner, you only have about 2 to 3 bereavement days, unfortunately. And that's really, 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 really hard to do. It's almost impossible to have to, go back into work and to have to deal with these everyday struggles on top of becoming a new parent and, wanting to give that child all of your undivided attention and, to have as much skin to skin time as you can, or even just learning and learning and filling in that role of being a parent. So doing that while grieving, is truly a lot. You really feel the weight of the world weighing on your shoulders. And you're just told to, go back to work and, live this everyday life. It took, after Amber passed away, it took almost 2 years for me to sleep in my room. I couldn't sleep in my room for a very long time. Because it was very painful to have to, be in this room that we once shared for a long time. And, in this room where we have so many memories and we've created plans and, that's really hard. And so, just imagine what all these other families are also going through and what they're feeling. How are they going to make it to work? How are they going to take care of their children and their children's needs? We think it's very important that, especially during that first year, that you're allotted the time to grieve and, you don't have to worry about, finances and, all these things. And, during that time, you're also able to take care of your mental health, and create that, sustainability. And just getting back up on your feet and trying to cope and face life while you're grieving. I really think that time is very necessary. I do also feel like people that we do need to stop putting a price over people. There we go. Yeah, so I think that we need to stop putting a price tag over people. And I think that we need to start valuing families of New York State. Right now, there's only, I believe, Alabama and New York State are the only 2 states that don't have a bill like this. And you know, if you're living in New York City and you've been living here for quite some time, you would think that, you know, we're the most advanced, you know, city in the country. And but it always seems like we're always last for, you know, to get things passed or to get what we need. So yeah, I think it's time that we start putting families first. And I believe with this bill, we're doing just that. I believe that we're creating safety for these families who are, you know, dying from wrongful death, of course.
Absolutely. So just to reiterate some of the things that Bruce said, he mentioned it's a 175-year-old bill. Exactly. The last time this was updated, slavery was still legal and Black people were considered three-fifths a human under the United States Constitution. And because it tags essentially medical malpractice to that person's potential future income, it re-embeds the structural racism that causes Black women to make the least amount of money in the workforce, despite them being the highest educated demographic in America. So this will essentially change how, or I guess so Sabrina and Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, this will essentially change how the law is structured and allow families to sue for the emotional suffering and the emotional suffering and the emotional loss of a human beyond the, you know, financial calculations that an actuary is determining with their current income and whatever formula they currently have. Does that sound like a apt summary, Sabrina?
Yeah, Katie, I think you did a great job summarizing it. You know, this is something we've been pushing for a very long time alongside other groups. It is New York is one of only 2 states that has this regressive law. The other state is Alabama, so that should tell you much of what you need to know about where things stand. The bill sponsor is Brad Hoylman Siegel. He is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, so we have a great legislative team on board, and Helene Weinstein sponsors it in the Assembly. And it does exactly, Katie, what you said. It simply allows families to make a claim for grief and anguish under New York State wrongful death laws. And the current laws only allow claims for what's known as pecuniary damages or loss of an income. So that leaves a lot of people out. Obviously, students, you know, I think Amber was finishing up grad school, stay-at-home mothers, children under the age of 18 who don't have any income yet are unfortunately left out. And, you know, right now we're really at the cusp of this bill being decided. The governor has until the end of the year to decide it. It was passed twice with pretty much unanimous bipartisan support in both chambers of the legislature. So it was passed last year and then vetoed in January. The governor got a 30-day extender on the bill, which is fairly something of a legislative anomaly. And it went back and was amended. You know, I think the legislature tried to meet her on some of the issues that she said needed to be addressed, and they did that. So the bill that's before us now is a compromise bill. It passed again with bipartisan unanimous support in both chambers, and she has until the end of the year, which is Friday, to make a decision. So, you know, we're down to the wire. There is a possibility that that it could get another extender, but I think that's unlikely. So, you know, essentially we have a few days left for her to make a decision and act on the bill. And Gina, I saw, asked a question on what the compromises were. They were, she had said that it was an overly broad category of people who could file claims. Essentially, the first version of the bill left it open-ended. It could be an uncle or, you know, a step parent or a distant relative. And so that was narrowed, as was the statute of limitations, from, I believe, 4 years to 3 years.
Were there any other questions about the content of the bill? Awesome. So we'll transition into kind of uh next
Uh,
step. Oh,
had a question for Sabrina about what the compromises were.
Sabrina just explained that it's shortening the statute of limitation and more narrowly defining the family members or people who would have standing to sue under the law.
Got it, got it, got it.
Yeah, there was some debate about, the 19th century provisions not necessarily allowing for same-sex couples to claim, and so this was a modification to that. But there was some narrowing in the language on exactly who can claim. Obviously, close family members still included, and the slight reduction of the statute of limitations.
Great. And for those of you who know me and my story of kind of coming into activism through being a whistleblower in the NICU, this was and is often a frustrating circular conversation to have with people, because they'll be like, oh, well, if things were so bad and if it's that obvious, the parents can just sue the hospital and they'll get the money because it's so obvious that they got poor medical care. And I have to explain, like, unfortunately, like, New York state law does not consider the life of an infant, like, they have no financial value to this to the state. And so despite the fact that that family missed work for months so they could be with this infant who was sick in the NICU, they have no avenues of recourse against the hospital. So I moved by this because I've been to the malpractice lawyer with NICU parents and had to hear the devastating explanation of why legally there was no case and why we wouldn't be able to pursue, even when, like, so clearly an injustice had been done to their baby. So yeah, so let me share with you my screen, because the rest of the night we're just going to be talking about different things we can be doing over the next few days to try and get this passed. So we've talked about the bill and what it does. So where are we now in the bill process? If you know the I'm a bill sitting on Capitol Hill, it is not sitting on Capitol Hill or the New York State equivalent of the State House in Albany anymore, because it has passed both the State Senate and State Assembly, like Sabrina said, almost unanimously. And so now we are at this stage where because the bill passed towards the end of last session, New York's legislative session goes from January to June. And so all of the bills that get passed in, like, that last week or two of June, the governor has the option of not calling them to her desk, essentially, until the next session starts. And so now we're in the last 2 weeks of the year where she does have to deal with the bills that passed last session, but she hasn't called to either sign or veto since. And something pretty unique about this bill and somewhat telling of the political position Governor Hochul is in is that this is the last bill of all thousand-ish that passed last year that she has not done anything with. So it's the last bill out of all of them in the state of New York that she has not called up to either sign or veto. And it is the cumulative insight from folks with information on the matter that it is likely she will call the bill on Friday. And unfortunately, it seems like she may be, unfortunately, we are not reassured that it is to sign it. Like, there's still some question in the air of whether or not it would be a veto. If it was to be vetoed, then we essentially have to restart a year-long process of reintroducing the bill or trying to overturn the veto. But if it doesn't get vetoed and it gets signed into law, then we can have a big celebratory party because we just did something amazing that the New York State Trial Lawyers Association has been working on for quite a long time to help this law more just. Is the yeah, is the reluctant because of the power of the hospital industry or physicians or both? And the answer is yes, both. She receives quite a lot of money from the Greater Hospital Association of New York, which is essentially the perennial thorn in the side of health justice activists. Think of like a bill that would have helped New Yorkers access better health care in the past couple of decades, and Gainey has been lobbying against it. And yes, um and yeah, and also like physician groups are opposed to this bill because again, it would make them more accountable to the people that they serve, and they generally try to eschew that type of accountability.
Yeah, Katie, if I can jump in too, I mean, I think it's the main argument against the bill was that it would raise insurance premiums. So we had some opposition from, in addition to Greater New York Hospital Association, I think all of the insurance companies also, voiced their opposition to the bill too. And, I'll say that we have evidence that when a similar law was implemented in Illinois, not only did premiums not go up, they remained stagnant, and rates actually decreased in medical malpractice. So I think they've been, arguing that this is bad for business, will raise premiums, and that's been proven to be false. But yes, that's you're spot on the source of the opposition to it.
Does this bear on malpractice suits against doctors or specifically against hospitals or both? Do you know?
So it's not only malpractice suits. This would help anybody who's
Any wrongful
experienced a
death.
loss at somebody else's hands. So it could be, it could be a drunk driver, an automobile accident, a construction site accident, a maternal mortality, an infant mortality, any sort of any event that triggers someone dying as a result of somebody else's fault. So in many malpractice suits, both the physician and the hospital are named as defendants. So yes, all it would do would allow the plaintiff in the case, the bereaved family, to file a claim for grief and anguish. Yes, exactly.
Yes, so for all wrongful deaths. And someone answered how the letters are being delivered. Monique, could you clarify what you mean by that? Maybe you sent it right after I used the word letters, but now I forget.
Like, are they being sent via certified mail, return receipt requested, like through those avenues?
Oh, like letters to Hochul asking her to sign on to the bill?
Correct.
I think those are just being sent to her main contact address, asking her to pass the bill. I don't think like doing certified mail offers any advantage. And at this point, it may be, assuming we're thinking of Friday, it may be a little late to send mail. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. If Monique, if you're looking for a way to deliver a message to her office, I think Katie and I can get an email, and Katie's probably
That's the
getting
rest
there.
of
But
the rest of the night is how to get in touch with her office.
There you go.
I've gotten in contact with the office prior to. I'm just asking in regards to that. But thank you.
Oh, great. Oh, do you want to share how you've been in touch with the office and how it went?
Not at this moment, but I can email you.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think like writing letters has been a good strategy and will be a good strategy in a week when we have a better understanding of what the next steps may be, or if there are next steps. And for right now, our big encouragement, and if you have to sign off in 5 minutes, the big thing is to call Governor Hochul and leave messages. There's several ways that we can get in touch with her, but there's definitely somebody at the switchboard, and they are writing down the name of the bill, yes or no. And so with that in mind, I did not get very fancy with the script because you can give the most eloquent reasons why, and they'll still probably just mark yes or wants to sign versus, wants to veto. But also feel free to leave as elaborate a message as you want. The main information to get out is that you live in New York, so you are therefore a constituent of Governor Hochul, that you're calling about the Grieving Families Act, and you want her to sign it. So that's like the real basic action step that if everyone on this Zoom did, and if everyone on this Zoom plus a bunch of our friends did, would be really helpful in raising the profile in the next couple of days. And we essentially want to put, like, my guess is Hochul has not dealt with this bill or left it till last because she wants it to more or less go unnoticed that she is siding with industry interests over over the grieving families who have been working to get in touch with her to ask her to sign this bill. And so the more attention she knows is on this bill now and potentially in the future, the more motivated she will be to act now. I did make this shady slide because I will say, like, just generally, if you feel like you generally jive with my politics, I do not support Governor Hochul. I do not think she is doing a good job in office. She was a part of the white supremacist Cuomo administration. She really only got her job because Cuomo was held accountable for, like, one of the smallest evils he committed while in office. And this is not her first time, nor will be her last time not moving in the interests of the people of New York. Pretty damningly, her first year while COVID was still very much ravaging our hospitals, she defunded Medicaid, which pays those hospitals and pays for people to get treatment for COVID, and instead gave $1 billion to the Buffalo Bills because she's from Buffalo, New York, and wanted them to have a nicer stadium. So we're definitely pressuring her to get her to veto this, or not to veto this, to sign this. And as we're doing that, like, we're keeping in mind, like, if she signs it, great, move on to our next legislative initiatives. If she doesn't sign it, this is a thing to be talking about with your friends and family, so that in June of 2026, which is the next time we can primary Hochul to put a better Democrat up for governor, folks aren't like, wait, what's going on? There's a primary. Hochul's not great for the people. We want to have already started those conversations. And also it's June 2026 because that's when the primaries are. Like, obviously we don't want a Republican governor, and I'm never going to say vote for the Republican nominee over Governor Hochul, but Hochul does not need to be the Democratic nominee. We vote for who's going to be the Democratic nominee in the summertime, which often is very hard to get people to mobilize around. We have like less than 10% turnout sometimes in those primaries, which can work to our advantage if we have like a strong campaign around a grassroots candidate who is listening to the people and is not gonna play around with us like this. So generally our goal in the next few days is to create as much pressure as possible. And so I figured, so the first thing is call and leave a message now. The second idea is something Bruce, copy link, done. Is something Bruce mentioned, and I like just barely started essentially to have this link to send to folks. But particularly if anybody wanted to volunteer to help fill this out and spread the word, we could easily put like the the number for Hochul's office, a suggested message, and then just ask people to sign up in like 5 or 10 minute intervals from noon to 5, the power 5 hours for the Grieving Families Act. Sign up now, give them a ring, and that way at the end of the day, we'll be able to say like, Hochul, we know 20 people called you today about this, or however many people have signed up and indicated that they used it. So how together this gets between now and tomorrow noon is a group activity. I can spend a little bit more time into fleshing out the Google Doc, particularly if I know that folks are going to be sharing it widely enough to need the Google Doc. But yeah, so there's that. Debbie, did you have your hand up?
Sorry, my voice is going to be giving out on me a bit, but hope you can follow. I just thought that the point about New York and Alabama being the only states with such despicable provisions is very powerful. And I'd like to suggest, I mean, you sent an email today that was really focused on calling people out for this meeting. But if you could put together an email that says, you know, in the subject line, deadline, Friday morning or whatever, and has a, 3 or 4 sentence description of what this is about, including that powerful point about New York being so backwards, and includes the phone number and, says, please call. I think that would be a very easy thing for people here to share and people who get it to share. And I just want to, although I appreciate your point about keeping the message very simple at this stage of the game in terms of what people say to Hochul's office in calling, I think to motivate people to make the call, having that point about that this is so horrible and that we're down to the wire, and maybe mention that it passed so unanimously. I think that would be very powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you for that good reminder. I am recording this teach-in, and I like power wrote that email today. I was like, should I link it? No, Katie, just get it sent out. It's in 3 hours. So you are totally right. And my thought was, okay, let me just do the teach-in. We'll get the recording, and then I can send another email tomorrow with the recording and a little bit more information in the body of the message. So great reminder, and also good to know which points we're sticking for people, because I will definitely lead with that. Gina, absolutely. I trust Gina's just asking about formatting the database, and I trust you implicitly with that type of stuff. implicitly, explicitly. I don't know how that word works. The one that means I really trust you. Okay, so hopefully everyone's called. If you haven't called yet and you're worried about running out of time, feel free to call now while you're on mute and leave that message. And then I want to encourage everyone to try one new thing beyond calling. So the one new thing I did today was I sent a fax to Governor Hochul, because I've been hearing with all of the Palestine stuff that people have sometimes been ignoring their messages, but they can't ignore the pieces of paper that are like being printed out into their office. So I went to factzero.com and I just let's see, send chat to everyone in meeting. I went to factzero.com. As long as it's under 3 pages, it's totally free to send. It was not any kind of like elaborate setup or whatever. So I just put in my information, Governor Hochul's information. Oh, what is her fax number? I wrote it down. Where did I write down what her fax number is? Let me, sorry about that. Here we go. Here's her fax number. And also when you call her, it's like the preamble, like you can also reach Governor Hochul by faxing at such and such number if you forget. So I sent a fax today and I just made this very simple black and white, looks big but won't take too much ink, signed the Grieving Families Act into law, and I faxed that and I got a confirmation email that it worked. So knock on wood, somebody at Hochul's office just got this big thing, and you can write on let me send this to folks. Share link. So you can share this, or you can fax this. Like you don't need a printer, you don't need anything, just internet access. And fax this as an attachment. And then in your cover letter, you can put like, you know, a 1-sentence message that says what your name is and that you're from New York. So if that seems new and exciting for you, give it a try, because I think that could potentially be impactful way to kind of like rise above, to make noise that they can't be ignored. Okay, then there's also send a message to the governor form on her website. This, like, there's no reason to not do this, but we don't have all access to that Google Doc. Let me, I'm gonna keep chatting, and then I will send it as an attachment to all the emails that registered for this when we're done. So there's nothing wrong with sending a message this way, but I do feel this is probably like maybe the weakest way to contact her, just because like it's hard to keep track of who's submitting, and I don't know what they do with these forms as clearly as I do with what they are doing with our calls and our faxes. But it's there. And if if you're trying something new and a fax seems intimidating, try this one out. And then there are, so that's kind of getting in touch with her directly. And then if you've already been doing those things, other new things to try, you can go directly to Governor Hochul's Instagram account and leave her a message essentially on any recent post. She's like, $10 million for Lake George, 4.4 for Husick Falls. So you can write, so glad you were able to make these distributions. Also, we need you to sign the Grieving Families Act into law. And that helps, like, the people who are around her are seeing like, oh, no matter where we keep hearing about this same law. And it also, by doing any of the social media actions, you are just getting other eyes on to Grieving Families Act. So like you call, no one else knows you call unless you tell them. You write this thing, anyone else checking her comments will see the Grieving Families Act. Also, you can obviously like share content about the Grieving Families Act to your story and tag Governor Hochul, so her social media manager will see those things coming up in her story. I'm using Instagram speak because if you're not on Instagram, there are other, do one of the other new steps. On Twitter, a really great way to get in touch with Governor Hochul is just to search the hashtag Grieving Families Act. And then when you put that search term in, you click right here to see the latest tweets. And you'll see there are lots of tweets here about the act that are tagging Governor Hochul, including this recent one from Sabrina's organization, the New York State Trial Lawyers. So in 1 second, by retweeting this, in just that action, Governor Hochul got a new notification about this tweet saying, now 16 people think that you should be signing this. You can also really easy add a quote and say like, I think on your exactly, that's why. Okay, so now I just wrote a unique tweet that dings her social media manager. And if any of you retweet me, that will ding her again. And if any of you retweet any of these tweets and at Governor Hochul again, it's lots of tapping on the doors. You may not answer the first tap, but if like a million taps are happening incessantly, then you go see what's happening. Then you can also, she has a similar post to what she had on her Instagram on her Facebook page. So same deal here where you can leave a comment on Governor Hochul's Facebook page or share something about the Grieving Families Act on your page where you tag her like, we need to pass this, make sure you call at Governor Hochul and have it like light up so it connects to her Facebook page, again, for the notifications. And then while you're on Facebook, go ahead and follow Jose Perez, who is the partner of Christine Fields, who's also been working to help bring attention to this bill. And he was not on social media before his partner passed. So he's totally new to the platforms, and just having more followers on Facebook would be nice. Oh, hey. Oh, look, I looked away and we came back and now it's like a fully functional call tool. Beautiful. So now that we have a fully functional call tool, yeah. Oh, and then the next gubernatorial lesson. Yeah, so that's pretty much I said I scheduled this Zoom to only be 45 minutes and I did not think it was possible, but I think we're pretty much all done. Totally happy to stay on for the next 15 minutes if anyone has questions or want to talk anything through. But I think making that call, doing one thing that you're new to doing, sharing what, like, after you've done a couple of, once you've called once or twice, once you've left 1 or 2 messages, if you leave like 10 Facebook messages, now you start seeming like, use the extra energy to let your friends and family know and help them connect to these action steps. Better to get 10 calls from 10 people than from 1 person. So yeah, and so do one of those call to actions and we all have this GFA call tool. I'm gonna try and make a graphic and get it posted sometime tonight or tomorrow morning. That has a link to this call tool and encourages people to sign up. And if folks can be inviting, if you have a network to alert about the call tool and our next steps to action, amazing. If not, keep your eyes out for, I don't know what happened to my my Zoom, but something happened with like my computer. They rebooted it and now Zoom makes hearts. And
Wait, when you just go like that?
yeah, it makes hearts. This is the only one I can like get it to replicate. But just randomly when I make hand gestures, sometimes it like shoots fireworks or
You had balloons, Katie, earlier.
yeah, it had balloons earlier for a reason totally separate from what I was talking about at the time. It happens when I do Zoom therapy, which is also like weird weird to see what it emphasizes. Anyway, so
Katie,
I
can I
work on getting the graphic out for this, and folks keep your eyes out for the email or Instagram post to share.
Can I interrupt you with one quick suggestion? If in this Google spreadsheet we had a column for your social media handles, we could do some sort of amplification squad. I don't know if that's a lot to take on at the 11th hour, but I'm also happy to put one together if where we can just DM posts directly to you, or Katie, if you want to think about that.
Yeah, if you're in the Zoom right now and happy to and would like things DM'd to you to make sure you don't miss it on social media, put your platform and handle in the chat. Would that work well, Sabrina?
I'm still
Yep.
requesting access, Katie. I can't, I don't know if you changed it for anybody who has the link or not, but. And
Is
hi,
it
Bruce. Yeah, thank you.
the call tool you're having trouble accessing?
No, the GFA, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I want to drop it in. I have a pretty big WhatsApp group of doulas, so I want to.
Awesome. Let's see.
So really quickly, I added a new tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet to make it a little bit cleaner. So I added the tab and I called it social media to amplify. I'll just like wipe the rows and we could throw in social media there. Would that be helpful? Or unnecessary?
I'm just looking for that tab.
Sure, all the way at the bottom.
Oh,
Sorry. There you go.
I love that, and just know from experience and
That people don't click over tabs.
including just 30 seconds ago, that the tabs down here are easy for people to miss. I wonder if here we just add like column H, your social media handles, if you want us to tag you in future things.
Oh, totally. Love that. Okay, sorry about that.
And I think everyone here is on the Movement to Birth Liberation listserv. But if you didn't get an email about this, you just saw it on social media, then you should sign up to join the Movement to Birth Liberation. I'll put that in the thingy. Any other questions, comments, concerns, things you want to chat about before we go?
No, thank you both so much. And Bruce, always good to see you and really appreciate whenever you come to educate us and motivate us. And thank you so much, Katie.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Yes, I want to say the same. Thank you so much for getting us together. Thank you, Bruce, for having to continually share your story and use it to help other people, and whatever we can do to try and get this passed. I want to help. So, put it out in all the places.
Definitely. Thank you for your love and support. Always.
Awesome. Well, I see Solil here. I didn't make a TikTok tab because Hochul isn't on TikTok, but obviously TikToks that just kind of explain the basics and point to the call tool would be amazing if you have time on that platform. Great. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Have an amazing night and look forward to be working with you all over the next couple of days. Saturday, we'll be out at Woodhall again for the Justice for Christine. So if I am too frazzled to have sent an update about what happened on Friday before the protest, certainly by the protest, we'll have an update for folks. And then if there are still things, if it's vetoed and there's more work to do, we will be in touch in the next couple of weeks about restarting the next step. And if not, hopefully we'll do a little celebration for getting it through. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
again, Katie.
Bye,
Thank you.
Thanks so much.